This week, it's all about a billfish that represents the apex predator of the pelagic realm. Millions of dollars are spent all over the world in tournament fees, offshore battle wagons, and gear to pursue the mightiest of all game fish.
That's right, Brie, and if you haven't guessed yet, we're talking about marlin on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, which starts now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back to the Florida Insider Fishing Report. Rick, the summer is just seeming to fly by, and we are almost through July, but that means this is the perfect week to embark on one of an offshore angler's most prized possession.
You're absolutely right. You know, Brie, and the Gulf of Mexico has been on fire. I know they're catching a lot of big fish in Pat's region. Also, Key West lit up last week during the Key West Marlin tournament. We'll have those results a little later in the show.
Yep.
But it's some really good fishing for marlin right now. This is a good time of year.
Good stuff. Well, I can't think of anyone better to show us the ropes than our marlin man over at the CCA workbench, Dave Ferrell. Dave, it's your time to shine.
Yeah, Florida's a great place to, go after marlin. There, we got several spots along the coast of Florida that are really good. Jacksonville is one of the hot spots. You know, there's always some over there off Jupiter during the summer, and Pat's Panhandle region is probably our best place to catch them. So.
Well, that is perfect. You just said that. So let's start by catching all the marlin in the Sea Sucker Panhandle region with Captain Pat Deneen. Tell us how it's done, Pat.
Hey, Brie, I tell you what, the Panhandle and the Northern Gulf has the best marlin fishing in the state. And the way the fishing's been this summer, it would be tough to prove me wrong. The downside is we typically have to make long runs, 60 to 100 plus miles. But the upside is our blue marlins can run on the large size. 500 plus pounds and more often 600 plus pounds is going to be needed to win a tournament. And there's been more than a couple 1,000 plus pounders caught in the Northern Gulf. The floating rigs to the southwest are normally the place to be to find those, consistently find those bigger blue marlins. But the steps, the squiggles, the dumping grounds of the spur, especially now that we've got the Okaloosa Fad Network out at the spur, can also be very productive. Lately, crews fishing the squiggles and south of there have been doing real well on white marlin, sailfish, and a few blues. Perfect situation for a Grand Slam potential. Open water troll, you want to troll a mixed spread of baits and lures, but spice it up with dredges and teasers to, increase your presence. Most of the big girls winning the tournaments are coming from the rigs. Slow trolling live tunas and multiple slow trolling live tunas is how they're getting them. And multiple blue marlin days are not uncommon for the crews that have it dialed in. The bycatch of trolling tunas around the rigs for big blue marlins or big tunas. And for example, the Blanchette out of Destin, they bonus with a 200 plus and 160 pound yellowfin this past week, and in addition to a blue marlin while they were live baiting. So that's been a very productive fishery. Staying well offshore, the pre-full moon swordfish bite was off the chain. Most everybody spending the night offshore and giving some effort have been rewarded with a swordfish or two by drifting the spur and the east side of the DeSoto Canyon and the steps. The daytime guys spending time in those areas have been catching double digits. Day or night, target depths from 1,200 to 1,800 feet. Daytime focus on any irregularity on the bottom, like ridges, trenches, or steep roll downs. Strip baits, butterfly baits, and squids are the baits of choice, fish on 200 to 250 pound leaders. Most crews are fished with J-hooks rather than circle hooks. Swordfish are running up to 200 pounds, but 70 to 125 pounds is definitely more common. And there's a photo there, not a swordfish, but a big old red snapper. It was caught in 65 feet of water on a free line bait with Captain Joey Savageau out of Destin. That red snapper season's winding down, but there still are some really nice ones out there. And you definitely don't have to go too far to get them. You just got to be lucky, I guess. Moving inshore, nighttime has been the right time for trout and redfish under the dock lights. Many residential docks are set up with underwater lights or lights low off the water, for the purpose of attracting bait and fish. And the redfish and trout fishing has been good lately. Small live baits are the way to go. 3 to 4 inch pilchers are a preferred bait. Before dark, cast net up some baits on the grass flats, and then after dark, go light to light. Free line your baits on a light spinning outfit with 10 or 12 pound leader, and you want to use a small wire hook. I mean, stealth is on your side, especially if you're up under those lights. You're usually going to catch a few fish per light before they get wise to you. And be sure to be respectful of the dock owners and not leave hooks or lures on their dock lines or on their docks. And there's a photo there Young Oscar and Otis Smith from Fort Walton Beach with a fat daddy trout they caught with their dad, Travis. They've been fishing the lights at Cinco Bayou a lot lately and doing really, really well. And then finally inshore, all the ladyfish, bluefish, and life along the beaches. There's plenty of sharks along the beaches as well. Nighttime anglers fishing with bonita and stingrays for bait have been catching the bigger sharks, primarily bull sharks and tiger sharks. They're fishing heavy tackle using kayaks and paddle boards to position their baits well past the second bar. In the daytime, you can sight cast the blacktip sharks and other smaller sharks in the gully inshore of the outer bar, up to the first bar. Ladyfish are the best baits. If you can find some small ones, fish them whole. The bigger ladyfish, you can strip them out, turn them into strip baits. Anywhere you find an abundance of bait, ladyfish or bluefish in the trough, you're going to find these smaller but hard fighting sharks. Use a medium to heavy spinning tackle rigged with a wire leader and a circle hook. And that's a lot of fun sight fishing those guys.
Sure is, Pat. Thank you so much. Great report from the Seasucker Panhandle region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots. Pat says inshore, big redfish and an occasional tarpon on the halfway bridge using live baits on the afternoon outgoing tide. And then if you want to go offshore, guys, looks like you're going to have beautiful weather. Sword fishing has been on fire both day and night in 1,300 to 1,600 feet using butterfly strips and squid baits.
Well, Rick, whatever Captain Jimbo Thomas is fishing for, he's catching most of the time. So let's see what he has to say about Marlin in the Casa Vieja Lodge Southeast region. Tell us straight, Jimbo.
You got it, Brie, and hello, Rick and Dave, and all our viewers. If you're watching this show, you obviously survived lobster mini season. Congratulations. We would catch a lot more marlin here in the Southeast region if we actually went fishing for them. Places like the Panhandle with Pat, they actually go fishing for them with the proper tackle. But to target marlin and have it actually a good chance of catching them, you want to use at least 50-pound tackle or even 80-pound tackle. You want to use big baits, rigged horse ballyhoo, mackerel, swimming mullet, or medium to large lures. You want to use some good-sized hooks, 9/0 to 12/0 hooks, and heavy leader, 200 to 300-pound mono. And when it comes to lures, there's a lot of debate on which colors and size to use. But in my experience, it really doesn't matter. Whatever you just have to drag over their head. And most of the blue marlin encountered are offshore in the blue water from 500 feet on out. And right now is the time when we do see them most of the fish right now because we're offshore hunting dolphin, and that's one of their favorite foods. In the wintertime, we're not out there in their playground, basically. So right now is the time to get them. And you want to troll your natural baits at around 6 knots and your lures at roughly 8 to 10 knots. And then there's the occasional white marlin caught. Since they average roughly 60 to 80 pounds, they can be handled on a little bit lighter tackle. And most of the whites that we catch are in the winter and spring on troll baits, but mostly on live baits under the kite that are intended for sales. And we do average about 1 white marlin and 1 blue marlin a year. But if we actually fish for them, I'm sure we catch a lot more. Now, I got a photo here. This is a blue marlin that was caught and released over the 4th of July weekend by Mitch Gaither aboard the Snap Bean with Captain Mike Causley. And then staying offshore, since we're heading offshore looking for marlin, we might as well look for some dolphin along the way. We've been finding schoolies anywhere from 6 to 15 miles offshore around scattered weed lines and floaters, and most of the schools have had birds working over the top of them. We've been catching most of the fish on cut bait or trolled ballyhoo, and then if we see any larger fish, which there really haven't been that many of them, we've been pitching small live baits to them, like if you can get some pilchards or small blue runners. And then we've also been getting them on the troll on small feathers and lures and rigged ballyhoo. Remember that the dolphin have to be 20 inches to the fork of the tail to be legal, so try not to beat them up too bad when you're releasing those small ones so we can catch them when they grow up. Now moving inshore, the bone fishing on the flats at Biscayne Bay has been very good first thing in the morning before that water on top of the flats starts to get too hot. You want to look for tailing bonefish on the inside and outside flats from Soldier's Key south to Angelfish Creek on the outgoing tide. Now, after that water warms, look for the fish in the deeper edges of the flats over light-colored bottom. And then late in the afternoon or just after a rainstorm, that water begins to cool down. They are coming back up on top of the flats. Best baits have been small crabs and crab pattern flies. Got another photo here. This is Craig Fountain with one of 4 Biscayne Bay bonefish he caught last week off Soldier's Key.
Nice.
Now, the snook fishing has been very good throughout the whole region. The snook, they've been schooled up in the inlets. They're also being caught around the piers and jetties and the lit bridges and dock lights of the ICW. Live baits like pilchards, herrings, mullet, and croakers have been getting bites, but any other good live bait should do the job. They're also being caught on jigs like flare hawk jigs and soft plastics. In the inlets, they've been biting the live bait drifted near the bottom on any tide. And when the water's been murky, they've been biting throughout the day. When the water's been clear, the mornings and evenings have been best. And around the bridges and piers, the outgoing tide in the evenings has been the best.
All right, thank you so much, Jimbo. We're going to take a look at the Black Oak LED hotspots from the southeast region. Jimbo says catch and release tarpon and snook in the inlets and off the beaches, fishing in the evenings, both on live and artificial baits. And then offshore, head offshore in search of dolphins on the troll with live and cut baits around the grass patches, debris, and bird activity debris.
Yeah, debris. All right, we're getting our fix for the Fish Bites Trading Post rigs and techniques at the CCA workbench with Mr. Marlin himself, Dave Ferrell. Dave.
Yeah, we're going to be talking a little bit about how you can use a little bit smaller gear so you're not fighting the gear instead of the fish.
Perfect.
Sound
Sounds
excited
good.
about that, Dave.
I know.
I am.
And then we're trolling right into the Front Runner Boats Northeast region with Captain Tommy Derringer. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. SiriusXM Marine. Weather, fish mapping, entertainment. Penn. Let the battle begin. Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Berkeley Prospect Chrome. Fish Bites Trading Post, the first choice of First Coast anglers. Castaway Coffee, one taste and you'll be hooked. And Daiquiri Deck, food, drinks, friends.
Well, we're here at the Fish Bites rigs and techniques at the CCA workbench.
Yes, sir.
Dave, we're talking about one of your favorite fish.
He's my favorite.
So get fired up. I want to hear about it.
Well, first off, we're going to start talking about this rod and reel here. This is a Penn International 70 VIS. You know, it's machined anodized aluminum body and side plates, stainless steel main and pinion gear, quick shift, 2-speed. It's also got a really cool thing on there that allows you to set your drag. It's got an adjustable little clip here that you can set your strike drag wherever you want it, which is really cool.
That is
and
cool.
A double drag ratchet anti-reverse, just a really nice heavy reel, and it's on that Penn Carnage 3 rod, an LS2 blank. It's a nice long blank, big enough to reach around the corners, which is very important when you're sitting in the chair. You want the rod tip to be able to clear the corners so your boat captain can make really nice tight maneuvers. It's got custom full rubberized handles on here. Powerful, lightweight blank with all AFTCO guides, so you can put a lot of pressure on it, which you really want to do. And we're going to talk about, that's a 70, and traditionally, marlin fishing, especially in the Gulf of Mexico, that really deep water, big fish, a lot of guys would use 80s and 130s. Well, they did that because of the line capacity. Now, because we have braided line, we can fill half that spool up with braided line, 130-pound test braided line, get a ton of line on there, put a top shot of this Pro Chrome, Berkeley Chrome, Prospect Chrome, 80-pound on top of it, and still have a huge amount of capacity on a much smaller reel.
Right.
That'll still give you enough drag, because drag kills.
Right.
You hear, speed kills. No, drag kills. It really does. And what we want to do when we hook one of those big marlins is we're always in a boat usually. Not many people catching marlins from the shore. So we're in a boat and we want to turn that boat and go after that fish. The fish should never get more than 400 yards away.
Right.
Well, that's the main problem a lot of guys have. They start clearing all their stuff. They don't have it in a position where if they can make a turn without tangling everything up. So you just clear the stuff on the inside of the turn, make that turn and clear the other stuff as you're running to that fish. You want to be close to that fish at all times. When that fish is jumping like crazy, he's wearing himself out.
Or exerting energy.
And if we get on top of him really quickly and put that drag up to 50 pounds, he's going to roll over quick.
Which you can do that easy in a chair.
And you can do it easily in a chair, and because you have 80-pound test line, you still got 30 pounds of extra.
Of error.
Extra drag.
Yeah.
You know, if your stuff is tight and you've done it all correctly, you should be able to put 50 pounds of drag. If you got 130 on there, you should put up 90 pounds of drag. You can put 90 pounds of drag. A 15-year-old girl can use 90 pounds of drag in a chair.
Come on.
Seriously.
Seriously.
We do it all the time. We used to do it all the time in Australia. Little tiny people. I had a little Italian guy who weighed half what I weighed, he looked up at me at one time and said, we were at 70 pounds of drag, and he goes, can I put more drag on? I go, heck yeah, man, we got plenty. And he went all the way up to 90, and we caught a giant fish in less than 15 minutes.
Wow.
Drag kills. So, and what's really good about using a smaller reel like that 70 is you're not fighting the equipment.
It's not so heavy on you.
Yeah, you don't have this 130, which weighs, 20 pounds or something.
Right.
It's a much smaller reel. You can put a lot of drag on the fish, and that's it. That's what we want to do. So, you start out in the Gulf of Mexico, we're trolling lures, wanting to go fast, cover ground, trying to get that bite, We come to a place where the water looks really good, or we get a bite, we slow down, we put out the dead bait and the lure combos, we slow down to 6 knots or so. And if we see a fish jumping or eating tunas, or we mark one on our sonar or our Omni, that's when we put out the live bait. And then we put
big circle hook,
big
like these
circle
eagle
hook,
claws.
the 12-aught circle hook. Put it out there with a live bait bridled with that thing right on his nose, and that's the best of all worlds. When you're at the point where you can put the live bait out, you're going to get a bite if you see the fish. So
wow.
There you go. That was pretty
Dave.
quick.
Wow.
I think you drank some Castaway coffee during the break because that was just a caffeinated segment.
Yeah.
I love it.
Good job.
All right. The way things are going in the Front Runner Boats Northeast region, you'll be saying, got me a Marlin in no time with Captain Tommy Derringer. Sorry, Tommy, I have to say it every year. I just do.
That's right. Got me a Marlin.
Yeah.
Hey, Brie, I'm with you, man. Dave being that excited, I love listening to Dave talk about marlin fishing.
Me
It's
too.
exciting. He knows what he's talking about for sure. And, we have a fantastic marlin fishery here in the Front Runner Boats Northeast region. You don't hear about it a whole lot, but there's some hardcore marlin anglers. They got the right equipment, and they do get after them here in my region, and they catch good numbers of fish and some really big ones at that. Now, those guys that do get after them, they tell me the best time of year to target those marlin tends to be about mid-April through, mid-June, although you can catch them year-round, and they really like that water temperature to be somewhere in the upper 70s to low 80s. And every year, our resident marlin experts, they tell me that they catch most of their marlin in the Gulf Stream in the spring. And what they'll be looking for are the weed lines, temperature breaks, the current edges, all that kind of stuff. And, one thing that's cool is while you're out there that time of year, there's also some big dolphin being caught as a bycatch. Especially when you're using those bigger baits or lures, searching for those marlin, that's why they're there. They're eating those dolphins. So if you find a bunch of dolphin, you're probably in a good area for the marlin as well. Now, if you're looking to catch a marlin this time of year and through most of the summer months, you're probably going to want to be closer to the east side of the Gulf Stream. You're going to be deep, something out there like 1,200 feet. So you can start out 60, 70 miles and even head east from there. The go-to method is going to be trolling, a variety of lures, especially those in a dolphin color or pattern. Troll those around 8 to 10 knots, but you can also drag horse ballyhoo, big Spanish mackerels, another dead bait, a little slower, something in that 6 to 8 knot range. And then kind of like Dave was talking about with the live baits, you got the right stuff. Some of the guys will drag some live bonitas and small tunas for them as well. Now, staying offshore and moving on to the kingfish, it's been a little hit or miss here this summer, but there are some nice kingfish around. The pogies, they've been tough to find on most days, and we do have a little upwelling happening, even making it tougher right now along the beach. But the offshore fish seem to be around in good numbers right now. It's evident, with the results from the Greater Jacksonville Kingfish Tournament that was held this past weekend. There was some monster kingfish weighed in. Most of the anglers that I spoke to caught their bigger fish offshore. They were pulling live baits, both up top and on the downriggers. And look for those structures, they tell me, in about 120 feet plus that are holding good numbers of bait, like blue runners, cigar minnows, small bonitas, stuff like that, and then slow troll around those schools of bait. And I've got a picture here. This is the Greater Jacksonville Kingfish Tournament winning fish. It's caught by Randy Howell and his crew. They're from Waycross, Georgia, and that fish went over 50 pounds. So nice fish there, Randy. Congratulations. Now moving inshore, guys, the snook bite, it continues to be great in the south end of the region this week. I spoke to our friend, Captain Chris Herrera. He tells me he's been on an awesome snook bite right around the High Bridge area. And Captain Chris said his clients have been tossing topwater plugs early and then subsurface lures or live shrimp once the sun comes up for those snook. Now, Captain Chris, he's been locating those schools of snook. He's simply listening for them popping. There's a lot of little creeks down there. They're really tiny, and you can hear them a couple creeks over, so you know where to go. The unmistakable sound. Chris also said that he's had some of his clients tossing the fly rods to those feeding snook, and they've been eating the fly really well. He's been using a topwater gurgler or any kind of like EP minnow has been working well for him. And I've got a snook picture here. This is Landon and Finn with a really nice hook that they caught with Captain Chris Herrera from Palm Coast Fishing.
Cool.
Those kids look stoked all day.
That's cool, man. All right. Tell me about the flounders, bub.
Yeah, man, the flounder bite's been great last couple of weeks throughout the region. There's been an absolute ton of these, I mean, literally tons and tons of these little 3-inch mullet around. And the flounder, they've moved in to start feeding on those things. Now, we've been catching quite a few of those flounder as a bycatch just when we're throwing paddle tails for redfish. But if you're targeting flounder specifically, fish the lower tide stage, look for those little runouts that are holding those small mullets. Cast net some of those guys and then fish them in those runouts. Now, we've had trips lately where we've caught multiple big flounder in one little tiny spot. Just look for those concentrations of bait. When doing that, I just like to pin one of those little mullet on a quarter-ounce saltwater assassin jig head, drag it really slow through that area where you think those flounder may be laid up. Let them hit it, let them eat it for a second, set the hook. And I've got one last picture here. This is our buddy Mallory Hendricks, who always catches all kinds of great fish. This is her with her personal best doormat flatty that she just caught the other day.
Nice.
Congrats.
All right,
Now.
bud, we're going to go ahead and get to the strike zone northeast hotspots. Tommy says that we're going to go ahead and go inshore snook in the south end of the region. Look and listen for popping snook during the low light times. And then toss a Berkeley Jaywalker topwater around the bait that fish are chasing. And then offshore kingfish on the offshore wrecks. Look for those areas holding good numbers of bait, guys.
Well, Rick, Marlin are part of the billfish family and can be entered in the CCA Florida Star competition presented by Yamaha. They can be entered in the Ingle Cooler offshore division presented by AFCO, along with almost all offshore species of fish, and you might just win a 250 Yamaha motor. If you are a blue water angler, make sure you enter your catches in the Star competition with your shot at winning a share of $500,000 in prizes, and if you land the first Tiger Star tagged dolphin, you could win $10,000 cash. There are still 30 days of fishing, so get registered today, ccaflstar.com.
All right.
The Alto Equipment Southwest region is showing us what our weekend is all about, but first we're getting our offshore and inshore report from the real legend Central East region with the one and only Captain Jim Ross. So stay hooked.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Berkeley, Your Fish, Our Science, Bahio, Blue Light Blocking Radically Clear Polarized Fishing Sunglasses, Scoozy Shoes, the captain's choice for premium lightweight comfort, Sea Sucker, easy on, easy off, incredibly strong, Penn, let the battle begin, Kubota, together we do more. And the International Order of T. Roosevelt, protect your right to fish.
And as you can see, joining me is the CEO of Battery Tender, Michael Prelick. You know, Michael, I got to ask you something. You know, what are you guys doing being involved in a fishing show? I mean, you guys make battery chargers.
We've actually been in the marine industry for 35 years now.
35 years. So let's talk a little bit about the first charger. This is one of the new chargers that we got, our 4-bank. What did you tell me about it?
So that's our new Wave Charge Pro 40. That's a 4-bank designed for the fisherman that, or captain, or tournament fisherman that's got a lot of batteries, maybe a 36-volt trolling motor plus their starter battery, and they've got to bring it up real fast overnight because they're fishing multiple days back to back.
So he's sure to get a full charge overnight.
100%.
Now that second charger there, that looks like an onboard charger. What's that for?
Yeah, it is an onboard charger, and that's actually, we designed that, also a new product for us, designed that for the fishermen that are now running single 36-volt lithium batteries in their boat.
So that particular model comes in a 24, 36, and a 48, right?
And a 48 for, like we were talking earlier, the golf carts.
Now, connections sometimes can kill your battery power. I know you guys, I've been using this with my relationship with Rodan, the battery tender plug. Why don't you tell me why this works so well?
That plug we've had for a while now, and it is a great product. It's just bulletproof. It has the locking pin, so when you turn and lock it, you know you've got a really good secure connection. And instead of having the exposed pins, if you accidentally kick that while on the deck fishing, it's not going to come loose. It'll stay in there secure, so it's not going to bend and get the arcing and corrosion.
It's a tremendous product. This is one of my favorite electric trolling motor plugs for sure. So if somebody's interested in going and finding a marine dealer that sells battery tenders, where can they go?
BatteryTender.com, learn more, or go to your local dealer.
All right, guys, there's a dealer locator on our website, so go check it out. Right, Brie?
Absolutely. Well, as always, there's plenty of fun to be had in the Real Legends Central East region. So let's find out what species is on the catch list with Captain Jim Ross. Go for it, Jim.
Well, you know, the Real Legends region, we have marlin, but right now, if you're trolling for marlin, it can be a little bit boring. We don't really have any structure like they do over in the Panhandle region with the spur and the nipple and those places like that. We're sort of a transitional area. The fish come off of the Bahama Bank and they kind of stay on the east side of the Gulf Stream between about 65 and about 90 to 95 miles. And then when they get up to Tommy's region, then they start to slide across and can be caught in the stream and even sometimes on the western edge of the Gulf Stream. But around here, we definitely have to make that run. And so the guys and gals that are getting out of here, they're throwing their pin rods and reels on the boat, those 50s and 80s, getting on out there to catch those white marlin and blue marlin. But it's typically from April through June and then again in the fall. That October timeframe can be really, really productive as well. You want to have, skirted ballyhoo, like Dave was talking about earlier, some large lures as some teasers. You want to try and promote a big spread behind your boat, create a bunch of commotion to entice that marlin to come up and take a look. But honestly, a lot of our fish are caught while guys are trolling for yellowfin tuna because those marlin do chase those tuna around and those blackfin and yellowfin tuna and try to eat them. But don't be surprised if you're circling a bird pack waiting for that 30-pound blackfin to hit, and all of a sudden a 300-pound blue marlin jumps on there. Now our average fish runs, 150 to 300 pounds in size. Every once in a while we'll get one a little bit bigger. Now staying offshore, the mutton snapper has actually gotten really good. We had cold water upwelling here last week. They're still a little bit moving around throughout the area, but I'll tell you, the bottom fishing for mutton has been really good from 60 to 90 feet throughout the region, especially in the south part of the region, down from Sebastian to Vero. And then the guys that are on the party grounds up to the north are getting these fish as well out of Ponce Inlet. 15 to 30 foot leaders and a 5/0 circle hook with a chunk of ballyhoo or sardine on it or any other type of chunk bait seems to be working pretty good. And you can invite one of these mutton snapper home for dinner. Now our average mutton is running about 6 to 12 pounds. There's a couple of larger ones out there, so be ready. I've got a photo here of one that a nice young lady caught out of Sebastian on the south end of Pelican Flats just not too long ago.
Nice job, girl. All right, let's go inshore.
Yeah. Tarpon. Tarpon have been our favorite frustration, if you will, for this year. Bait has been very difficult on the beach. But Captain Mike Mann at Fat Fish Guide Service has plenty of tarpon up in the New Smyrna area. He's feeding these fish live mullet most of the time, and he prefers a 7 to 9 inch mullet. And Mike says you want to drop down on your leader size, that 60 and 80 pound leader that we typically use for tarpon, not going to get it. He said you got to drop down to some 50 pound and you should do much, much better. Our average tarpon is running 40 to 70 pounds inside the lagoon and all the way up through the inlet right now. So get your live baits, get out there, and get you some river tarpon like this one I've got a photo of that we caught the other day.
All right, tell me about the snooks, bub.
Snook fishing is on fire. It is the best bite in the region right now. It's as good as it could possibly be. All of the inlets right now have got big fish. The backwaters have got small fish. There just seems to be snook everywhere. They've come out of the woodwork the last couple of days. Saltwater assassin Artemis shad are working really good at night. So are flare hawk jigs at those inlets. Lip diving plugs can also be very effective. And if you guys and gals can get croakers, pogies, or pilchards, that's your best daytime bait. Mullet will work as well, as long as they're small mullet. They're feeding on, the backwater fish are feeding on these little 3 to 5 inch mullet. The bigger ones, they're really not chasing a whole lot right now. Outgoing tides have been better than the incoming tides, and some of these fish are getting really big. I've got a picture of Lynn here. He and Mark came out with me the other day, and we got that nice fish down at Sebastian Inlet.
All right, man. Love to see all those big, pretty pin reels in the background. Good job there, Jimmy. We're going to go and take a look at the Rodan Marine Systems hotspots. Jim says that inshore, all 3 of the inlets for snook are on fire. Used live croakers on a 5/0 circle hook up to fish up to 38 inches. And then mangrove snappers on a high relief structure, 60 to 90 feet of water drift chunk baits on 30-pound fluorocarbon leader over those structures for fish up to 10 pounds.
I love seeing these big old snook. All right, the Alto Equipment Southwest region has it all, but Marlin, not so much. So Captain Ronnie Houston, give us our options.
Well, Brie, like always, it's a pleasure being here. You know, like you said, the Marlin's not common, but I'll tell you what, with the weather we've been having, if you beat the storms, the mangrove snapper bite is good both day and night. You know, the nighttime bite seems to be producing limits quicker, and that's probably because of the moon phase we're on right now. It's really bright right now, according to Hog Wild Charters. He's telling me, guys, you want to start working depths anywhere from 75 to 95 feet. He's telling me wrecks and ledges have been the key for him. Now, he also says you can chum the fish up and use a variety of cut baits, but he's telling me the quality fish have really been coming up live pilchards or small pinfish, and he's actually not catching some of these bigger fish off top. He's using 1-ounce knocker rigs, 3/0 circle hooks, depending upon the clarity of the water, 20 to 30-pound fluorocarbon. That's going to depend on the clarity of water. And there's a prime example of a nice mangrove snapper recently caught, working that pattern with Hog Wild Charters.
Wow. Go ahead, Ronnie, to stay offshore.
Still offshore, the permits. That's been great all year, but like I said, the weather's been good. Just keep an eye out for the storms. So as long as the weather's moderate, opportunity for permits still in the 25 to 30-pound class and bigger, according to on-a-mission fishing charters out of Naples. And reports also I'm getting up to the north. All these guys are simply fishing wrecks and artificial reefs, as close as 5 miles, not to 25 miles out. Some of these areas are still holding big numbers of permits. Baits you're going to need to have with you in case you get finicky. You want to have some live shrimp and live crabs. Weighted and unweighted in a couple different methods. You can, anchor mode on the trolling motor, let them crabs move in the current. But also you're getting on some of these schools. They can be side casted too. If none of that works, you might have the opportunity to start making some drifts across in and around the structure. You should have opportunity to hook up with one of them baits. There's a nice picture of a permit recently caught with on-a-mission fishing charters out of Naples. If I go inshore, CCA Star is still going on. You got till September. Still plenty of prizes to be won. And if you catch one of them tagged fish, got to make sure you're registered. So get on CCA Star, make sure you're registered in case you catch that tagged redfish. Inshore report's going to be the redfish. With all the rain we've had, the redfish bite to the north in areas like the east wall, west wall, Matt Lachey, east side of the bridge to the power line has been really good. Deeper shaded shorelines with points with current, as well as independent islands. Now, they've been getting a lot of rain up there. Some of them areas will run off. The water's real dirty. If you're running and you find dirty water, as soon as you find that clean water, that's where those fish should be. Live pinfish with cut tails, live pilchards, cut ladyfish and mullet, but also a variety of artificial lures like the gold spoons, more tannic water, bone-colored topwater walk-the-dog lures, bass assassin little pea, golden brim, and pilchard colors, and a variety of artificial shrimp and paddle tails. Crack of dawn, you want to be throwing the top waters for a couple hours. As soon as that goes off, your spoons and soft plastic paddle tails. There's a nice oversized snook caught by a recreational angler up there in the Punta Gorda region in the last couple days. Last species is going to be, like Jim was saying, the snook bite is really getting insane over here on the West Coast. Indian Key to Gordon's Pass. There's a lot of fish lining up in the passes and shorelines, especially closest to the passes, anywhere there's heavy current combined with rock piles or blowdowns. The points for current along the Outer Gulf Islands further to the south, especially in the areas of schooling finger mullet schools that are really moving in at the moment. So the areas of heavy current, you want to be using knocker rigs to keep the baits in place once you figure them out and they're in an eddy or something or around a blowdown. But also you can use the live pilchers to chum them to the top. But nothing beats them top water blow-ups like the Berkeley Jaywalkers in chrome, filtered and boned, a variety of 4 to 6 inch swim baits, but you want to upgrade them spoons to 3/4 ounce to 1 ounce silver spoons, and also still a variety of soft plastic shrimp on the jig head. Getting that heavy current, you might go and you have to go anywhere from 1/2 ounce to 1 ounce on the jig heads. And here's a snook recently caught while using live bait, fishing out of Goodland with Captain Chris Broom. Weather's looking good for the weekend. Keep an eye on the radar, keep an eye on the storm. Get out early, and you'll catch some fish.
All right, Ronnie, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the battery tender hot spots from the Southwest region. Ronnie says, guys, this week you should go inshore tarpon fishing nighttime bite along larger bridge spans throughout the entire region. Fish those shadow lines that seem to be the best. And then offshore, African pompanos, 90 to 120 feet, fishing ledges and areas of hard bottom using a 3/8 ounce jig with live pinfish, pilchard, or even a piece of cut bait to catch those APs.
APs, all right,
AP.
Rick. Well, we've been talking about it for weeks, and we finally want to congratulate the winners from the Key West Marlin tournament that occurred this past weekend. Huge congrats to Don't Blink, Dreamweaver, and Keep 'em Tight for the Marlin division, and Boiling Point for the ladies division. And in the Funfish division, let's congratulate Keep 'em Tight for the dolphin, Coco for tuna, and Eva Marie for wahoo. Rick, what an amazing event this was.
They really hit it right this year,
Yeah.
Bree. They had some great fish, and I heard 7 or 8 marlin caught in the first couple days, and then total, I heard there was 12 or so that weren't even, caught. They just had raised them, and so they had really good fishing. Good for Tim Green and all his people. Yeah,
and
man.
congratulations to all of the teams.
Yes, sir.
All right, well,
Yes,
coming
ma'am.
up next,
Sorry.
seeing what Taco Marine new products Dave has for us at the CCA workbench. Dave, do you need a hand over there? or
No, I
what?
don't.
You
I've got 3.
Do you have it handled?
I do.
That's great.
Oh my
Does
goodness.
this ever happen to you? I'm going to show you how to
Oh, no.
get those hooks out
I've
of
seen
there.
that more than once, Davey.
We're going to get those hooks out of there for
All
you.
right, sounds good to me. And then Captain Jeff Page is taking us fishing in the Star-Tron Central West region. So get ready to bend those rods, and we'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Abyss Battery, power your pursuit. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, best lures, period. Black Oak LED, never be left in the dark. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench. It's time for the Taco Marine new products, Dave.
Right.
We had a lot of cool stuff at
Yes, we
ICAST
did.
last week.
We're going to try to get 5 of them in here, so let's hurry up.
All right.
We got the D-Hooker tool, DHUKR tool. I know you guys are going to be looking this up, .com. It's the only human fish hook removal tool. Ergonomic handle, trigger grip, thumb rest, non-slip. You can use it in either hand. It mimics the string method that we all use, slipping a string around the bend of the hook, pushing down on the eye and jerking it out. Well, it does it in this one little tool, so I'll show you how it works.
We'll start right here.
We'll start on this bigger hook. It's got a little clip underneath,
right,
and a little guide at the top. So you put that little clip in the bend of the hook,
and then the guide goes on the shank.
Right. And
push down,
and you pull it right out.
All right,
just pops them right out.
Do this one.
Same deal.
Push down. I'm pushing down for you.
Okay, let me get it.
You're blind.
It's moving. All right.
Nice.
Just pulls it out. Same
One
way.
more.
It'll work with a circle hook. It'll work with a J hook.
Nice.
It'll work with a treble hook even. I'll do this treble real quick. Just put it around the bend, around the shank, pull down, boom. Really cool.
It's not, how come this dude's not bleeding?
Exactly. dhooker.com to get this. I know you guys are going to want to have that on your boat. Really cool. Really cool.
High five.
High five.
There you go. Good job.
Next, we have the Rigmate pre-tied dropper loop. Fella in Australia figured out how to make a machine that would tie dropper loops for him.
This is crazy.
This is awesome. You just he makes 10, 20, 40, 60, 80 pound. A lot of knots on a single spool. If the one has 60 there, that one has 80 knots. You just pull the dropper loops out, use the top dropper to attach to your swivel if you want. You can use the bottom dropper to attach your weight.
So you would cut this like so. Mm-hmm. You're gonna tie this to your swivel, put your hooks on here.
You could, or you could use that top knot. You can use this top one as a swivel knot. and then
we
put your
put
weight
our-
on the bottom.
Our bank weight here.
Yeah, so if you get sharked all the time, you can just put a couple hooks on here and bam, be ready to go. You don't have to tie 5 or 6 dropper loops at a time.
Why didn't I think of this?
Yep, rigmate.com. It ships from Missouri too, so although the guy who made it is in Australia, it ships from Missouri, so you don't have to wait forever.
All right.
Next, we have the Savage Gear Pulse Tail Mullet. It's a through line bait, 3D scan of a real mullet to make these things. They swim really easily. You can that tail really moves fast or slow. It comes in 6 colors, 6 or 8 inch. Comes with a little treble hook. You can either put it on the top or under the belly. Swims 3 feet to 8 feet deep, depending on how you fish it. And go to savagegear.com to get your pulse tail mullet.
This thing makes me want to go fishing now.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Comes in also 1 3/4, 3 7/8, and 2 3/4 sizes.
And also 8 inchers.
Yeah, big ones.
All right. TH Marine got bearing buddies.
Yep. TH Marine bearing protector with covers. Fits any hubs with a 1.980 inside diameter. Keeps out all the dirt and water. Keeps the bearing grease pressed up against your bearings.
Right.
So it's always in contact with your bearings, no matter how long they've been on there. Really, really easy to install. Comes in a set of 2.
Right.
Because you usually have 2. Some guys will have 4. But
right.
It's always an even number.
Right.
So they come in a set of 2, and you go get those at thmarinesupply.com.
They make great stuff.
Yes, they do.
One more.
Last but not least, we have the Pin Hooded Performance Shirt. This thing performs well on the water or on the shore. It's got that nice hood to keep the sun off your face. Quality construction and fabric, really lightweight, soft, very comfortable. Just if you're on the water, this is going to be really nice for you. You're not going to sweat your way through it very quickly.
It is nice and light.
It's very light. Built-in UPF 50 sun protection. It's got the moisture wicking fabric as well. All the seams are really done well. This isn't going to come apart on you in the wash. And it's a classic fit shirt, so it hugs your body.
Where do we go? Pinfishing.com?
Pinfishing.com.
And they got great selection of hats and all kinds of
stuff
cool
at pinfishing.com.
That sure would come in handy, gentlemen.
Yeah.
I'm still on the hand thing. Sorry, I
There
can't
you
get
go.
it out of my head. All right, well, it's the perfect time to cruise on in and purchase a brand new Yamaha during Yamaha's Cruise Through Summer Sales event. From now until August 30th, eligible new Yamaha 450 to 425 HP outboards include up to 7 years of coverage protection. 350 to 30 HP outboards come with up to 5 years, and all new Yamaha portables include up to $250 in dealer credit. For more information, visit your local Yamaha dealer today. All right, where there's a bill, there's a way. Oh my gosh. To get you a Marlin in the StarTron Central West region. So let's see what Captain Jeff Page recommends.
High
Good
five.
to see ya. Hi, Paige.
Hey, you know what? I just heard Dave Ferrell mention about a top knot. And if you remember back in the old Jeremiah Johnson, that one old timer told Jeremiah, he said, watch your top knot, Pilgrim.
All right, tell us
Anyway,
about Marlin fishing,
in the
Pete.
StarTron Central West region, you got to get out there in the Gulf. I mean, out there to the, the steps, the ledges, all those places Deneen talks about. But once you get out there, we do have blue and white marlin, and it's a good idea to do a little homework before you go. Chris Seeger always suggests keep an eye on the temperature breaks, and you can look at that stuff on water satellite charts. There are ways you can see where those temp breaks are. Now, once you get out there, of course, watch for birds, but also look for weed line. And then Captain Chris suggests he likes to start with a 4 to 6 bait on his spread that he's trolling, and he likes to do that early in the morning and late in the evening. During the day, he likes to deep drop for them. And it's a good idea to, maybe have some other game out there to deep drop for, because it's not like you're going to set the world on fire. But definitely there is a bite out there. My photo tonight shows it. That's our longtime friend, Rick, Captain Chris Seeger of Tight Lines and Family Matters, with a nice marlin to the boat side.
It sure is. All right, what else you got this week, Paige?
I got a shark. That shark, nobody likes him. But in the summertime doldrums, when it's hot and fish don't seem to really be cooperating, you can run out 1 mile to 3 miles on any of the artificial reefs, the ones that are holding bonitas, mackerels, stuff like that. There's going to be sharks there. You know that. You taught me that down there in the Everglades. Also big Goliath grouper. But that shark is a fun, hard-fighting friend of the sea, and he will put on a good fight for you. And our sharks in our region, probably number one would be the black tip, but we have bull sharks, hammerheads, and even some makos if you get out. Now, it's a good idea. Bring a little bit of chum to bring them up and to get them to the boat. And then also you want to use a heavy outfit, 8 to 10-aught conventional or 8 to 10 big spinning rod. You're going to want to rig it with heavy braid, and then you want to use heavy wire leader and an 8 to 12-aught circle hook, extra heavy-duty trocar circle hook. And you know what? You're going to have fun with them. My photo tonight is with our good friend from down south, Bobo Johnson, who catches a lot of sharks, and he's out of Pine Island. Going inshore, snook in the heat of the summer, you know what? The snook's probably the most active out of all of them next to the mangrove snapper, and it's mainly because he is a tropical species. They catch him down as far south as Belize. The bigger fish you're going to want to fish at night, and a lot of these young bucks have been catching some really good fish off the Anna Maria Fishing Pier, as well as Longboat Pass Bridge and the New Pass Bridge in Sarasota, and then down south around Matlacha, and then also the El Joe Bean Bridge. Now, daytime action, we've had some big high tides in the afternoon on the backside of this full moon, live pilchards, pinfish under a cork. If there's not a lot of grass, you can probably get away with free lining them. If you're going to throw lures, it's tough to not try that topwater Berkeley Jaywalker or the subsurface Berkeley Juke. I like them in the chrome or the bone pattern. My photo tonight is of the winning team with big Art Shiver on the left, actually Art Jr., but that is the winning team, and their name is Team Hurricane, and they had 157 inches, and there was a 4-fish aggregate inches, so that was almost a 40-inch average for 4 snook. And they won the Art Shiver. I think they won over $5,000. That's their check in that picture.
You got 15 seconds on the trout page. 15 seconds. Go.
Speckled trout remains really consistent. Key has been finding clean, deeper grass flats. Once you do, free line pilchards or put the gulp shrimp under a popping cork. Topwater plugs work well too. And my last photo tonight, happy young angler with Captain Gary Tuna Breath Huffman.
All right, Bub, you got it in. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the daiquiri deck hotspots from the Central West region. He says inshore, lots of keeper-sized mangrove snappers holding in most of our inlets and passes from Venice Jetty north to Longboat Key, small pilchards, or even small chunks of fresh cut pilchards and shrimp on a light wire #1. Circle hook's going to work for those mangrove snappers. Offshore red snapper season ending this next week. Anglers are having no problem catching their limits in the 150 to 200 feet of water over the hard bottom areas and ledges. Use live pinfish for the best results, Brie.
Well, Rick, I'm so glad you mentioned Daiquiri Deck because I've been waiting to talk about this. Join Rick, Dave, Captain Ridge Murphy, Captain Jeff Page, and I at Daiquiri Deck in Venice, August 8th from 4 to 8 p.m. We'll be talking fish stories, eating great food, and of course, enjoying some daiquiris. So come on by and say hi. It's always a fun time.
It really is.
Good vibes.
Yeah, man.
Just good vibes there. All right, the Fish Bites East and Discover Crystal River Northwest regions are taking us into the blue when we come back, so stay tight. And remember to keep up with everything fishing in Florida. Make sure to head on over to our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and to see new fishing adventures along with reports, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy. We'll see you soon.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by StarTron. Start, run, and store with StarTron. Berkeley, your fish, our science. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 35 years. Front Runner Boats, performance-built offshore fishing boats made in the USA. Takeuchi, From world first to world leader. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
You know, girlfriend, it can be really scary out there when those thunderstorms start brewing in the afternoon. But with SiriusXM, you can tell exactly where they're going and which way they're moving and if they have lightning. Why don't you check out this package?
Let's do it.
When I venture into the Everglades or head offshore where there is no cell service, I'm at the mercy of the elements. On my skiff or my bay boat, a bulky radar system isn't practical. And even the best radars can't give you the full story of what's over the horizon. That's why I have SiriusXM Marine satellite-based weather service integrated into my chart plotter. It provides me with the comprehensive, up-to-date weather information I need at my fingertips, including weather radar, lightning strikes, detailed buoy data, marine zone reports, wind and wave information, long-range forecast, and much more, including fishing data. SiriusXM Marine Weather Service helps me make informed decisions so that I can focus on what I love most, staying on the water longer to fish and explore.
Weather can change so fast, so
Sure
definitely
can.
need that. All right, in the Fish Bites East region, you're more likely to luck into hooking a marlin when you're not targeting them. So just try not to target them in July and August. Story of my life holiday, what's going on?
Hey, Brie, you know, July and August are the two best months to target a blue marlin in our region. But that being said, the majority of blue marlin that are hooked are just incidental catches by anglers that are targeting other species and have a marlin swing through the bait spread and grab one of their baits. You can target them, though, if you want to, around the offshore atolls, like Push Button Hill, where those fish are chasing small tunas, blackfin tunas, or around Lost Tree Village in North Palm Beach, where the fish are feeding on the summer bonita population. We also see the occasional white marlin caught in my region, typically in the winter months, not this time of year. You can target the fish by trolling with horse ballyhoo or a small Spanish mackerel, or you can live troll bonita. If you do that, you want to be out in 200 feet of water or more, just to get away from the sharks, because they'll just drive you mad if you try and pull a live bait in anything shallower. You can also pull big Kona lures. Halloween seems to be the hot color in my region, really all around Florida. Average blue marlin we're going to see is like 100 to 300 pounds, and we see the occasional bigger fish. A lot of the ones that are caught even on spinning rods because they're smaller. I got a cool photo that Captain Glenn Cameron on the Floridian charter boat out of Stewart sent me of a blue marlin they hooked off Push Button Hill last month, and that fish ate a trolled ballyhoo. The other thing we got going, over the last week, the wahoo bite has really ramped up, or really from like Sloan's Curve in Palm Beach all the way up to the St. Lucie Power Plant. I've had great wahoo reports from recreational anglers and even commercial king fishermen that have gotten into them. The bite's been anywhere from 110 to 275 feet of water, and it seems like the best action has been early in the day. You can throw high-speed lures like a red and black or purple and black R&R wahoo magnet, or a big swimming mullet, big swimming plug. I'm sorry. Troll them at dawn and dusk. Put out a double hook mullet on a bally or a ballyhoo, a double hook ballyhoo on a red and black skirt. Key is to get the bait down using wire line, downrigger, a planer, or a trolling weight, anything that gets the bait below the surface. And the average wahoo in my region is going to be like 20 to 40 pounds. I got a photo that Mike Long sent me. He got this nice wahoo out in 150 feet of water off Jensen Beach just recently, and that fish ate a live sardine.
Nice. All right, let's go inshore, bud.
Well, the catch and release snook fishing is starting to really heat up in Lake Worth and Jupiter inlets. The fish are holding tight in those areas to the docks and also to the drop-off along the edge of the jetty. There's also been good fish on the beach at Hope Sound Wildlife Refuge, also in South Beach and Fort Pierce, and up around the Vero Cove. And then don't overlook the Lake Worth and Juneau Piers, where they get those super clean fish that you see that are always caught on live baits. In the inlets, Live threadfins, pilchards, and sardines are working well, but croakers are the hot bait. You can also throw a copper juice colored saltwater assassin 4-inch sea shad if the water's clean, and if the water's dirty, you want to throw that Houdini color. Average snook in my region is going to be 8 to 15 pounds. And I got a photo of Jeff Sayre, who caught and released this snook in the St. Lucie Inlet. That fish ate up saltwater assassin Artemis shad, second cast of the day. The other bite we got going, the summer heat has been impacting the resident tarpon population. The fish are most active at dawn and after dark. Big Mud Creek, the Jensen Causeway, Harbor Ridge, all those places have fish. All the inlets have fish as well. Bite seems to be more tide-related around the inlets, with the outgoing tide the best. And then in another week or two, we should start to see the red meadow schools moving into the beaches, and that'll really light up the tarpon bite for the guys that can fish from shore. In the inlets, a live mullet or a threadfin drifted out the inlet with a tide. That's been money on those 20 to 60-pound fish. There's also been small fish like that around the bridges in Indian River, eating crabs and live mullet on the outgoing tides. And then in Big Mud Creek, bigger fish are there. You can slow troll a live mullet or cast a Houdini-colored 4-inch sea shad at those rolling fish. Captain Chris Britton sent me a shot of a fish they caught in Bathtub Beach just recently on a live mullet. Beautiful fish there.
It sure is a nice big one there, bud. All right, speaking of big ones, what do you got for a bass report this week?
Yeah, Lake Okeechobee is in its summertime pattern, and that's where the school fish are super aggressive and feeding on shad from as soon as it gets a hint of light to around 8 a.m. There's been 2 pockets of clean water on the west side with good concentration of fish. That's between Harney Pond and the Kissimmee River. You want to be on the water at dawn, looking for busting fish and diving birds, and fishing with anything that looks like a shad. You can throw a topwater plug, you throw a white spinner bait. I use soft plastics, a Bass Assassin vapor shad or split tail shad, and any of the blue and white or all white colors is going to work on those fish. And I was talking to Captain Nathan Schoen of OkeechobeeBassFishing.com. He said once that shad bite's over, you can either do 2 things. You can fish the Kissimmee grass with frogs, or you can move to the outside grass lines and flip worms or creature baits. The largest fish are going to come off that outside grass. The frog bite is iffy, but when it's good, it's been good. It's a 10 to 15 fish morning, average bass 1 to 3 pounds, and fish up to about 7 pounds being caught right now.
Thank you so much, Mike. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the TH Marine hotspots from the East region. Mike says inshore, the permanent St. Lucie power plant outflow with live crabs or jumbo shrimp on a 3/8-ounce jig head. Then offshore sailfish in 70 to 110 feet of water off of Jupiter. Live threadfinch, pilchards, or sardines on a kite's going to work for them. He had, all kinds of reports. Then his hotspots were even different. His region's on fire.
On fire. All right, well, we're going to keep reminding you of the Shoreline Showdown Surf Fishing Tournament Series presented by Fish Bites. We don't want you to forget it. 4 tournaments, 1 championship, and over $75,000 in guaranteed payouts, plus fishing for a chance to qualify to compete for the ultimate surf angler. We are 2 down with 2 more to go, so for more information, scan that QR code or visit shorelineShowdown.com. If reeling in a marlin is on your bucket list in the Discover Crystal River Northwest region, get ready to run with Captain Jeff Hageman. Hey, Hag.
Hey, we got them, but you are going to make a run to get them. Most of the time, it's going to be an overnight trip to make it worthwhile because you got to get so far out there. That being said, a lot of people don't fish for them. It's such a long run in my region. But there are a few tournaments in the region that still target billfish. They got the Old South tournament, the Loop tournament, the Sarasota Slam. There's always some billfish and some marlin caught in those. But not a lot of guys get out there and do it unless they're doing a couple nights in a row. But all the standard stuff works. Trolling, softheads, islanders, blue and white, black and purple are some of the favorite baits. Naked or skirted bally, jumbo ballyhoo work really good. As far as live baits go, if you got tuna tubes in your boat, 2 to 4 pound bonita, skipjack tuna, or small blackfin tuna are great live baits. Bridle them up and troll them through those areas. Look for frigate birds and other small tuna out there and small dolphin, and that's where you're going to find those marlin in that deeper water. But what's going on right now offshore, Captain Rob Davenport of Big Nasty Charters out of St. Pete reports a good speckled hind bite right now, or the Kitty Mitchell. Beautiful grouper species on the ledges and hard bottoms and anywhere from 325 to 400 feet of water. He's fishing 4 to 6 feet, 100 to 130 pound fluorocarbon leader. with 16 ounces of lead and a 6 to 8 aught hook, circle hook. Live bait or a whole squid works best. And I got a photo here of Captain Crystal with a beautiful Kitty Mitchell. That's on my bucket list. That's a beautiful grouper, isn't it?
It sure is, bub. Cool, man. Keep them coming. What do you got?
Captain Mario Costello at Tall Tales Charters out of Ozella Keys Marina reports a good snook bite right now on the mangrove shorelines from Crystal River to Homosassa. He's freelining either a live pinfish or a mud minnow on a 4-aught trocar circle hook on the beginning of the outgoing tide, and they're staging those deeper potholes relative close to trees that have overhangs as the water comes in. Look for the snook ranging in sizes from 25 to 35 inches. Moving on down the coast, Captain Jim Huddleston reports his out of Ozono reports a good big snook bite right now. They're starting to find a chew on those outgoing tides. He's using a 2-ounce lead on a pinfish and then pegging it down on the bottom in the current on the outgoing tide, and keeping that 2-ounce lead is keeping it in that prime zone. 40-pound fluorocarbon leader, 5-aught circle hook is needed to help catch these bigger fish right now in the pests. And I got a photo from Jim of a recent fish.
There you go. There you go. That looks good, dude.
I got another one from Sean Campbell at a Cedar Key with a beautiful Cedar Key snook with a nice bass assassin shad hanging out of his mouth.
Man, that snook didn't have a choice. He had to eat one out of that region because that's where bass assassins made up there, right down the street. So guess what? Good job, man. What else you got? You got some scallops for us?
The scallop report's been really good right now. Pasco to Steinhack, he's been really good. Limits are still fairly easy to obtain. 4 to 6 feet of water. Little tip, get away from the crowds. If you see a bunch of boats in an area, don't go to the boats. Kind of go outside of them. And remember to fly those dive flags out there. Everybody's been safe so far this season. I haven't heard anything happen. So everybody operating their boats around the other snorkelers has been really good, but keep an eye out there. And it's been hot, so get out there and enjoy that underwater Easter egg hunt we have. And go get you a limit of scallops. And I've got a nice little photo here of a family went out and got some good little limit.
Yeah, it looks
So
good.
fun.
Well, Hag, have you been scalloping?
I have not been yet, and I heard they're going to close Pasco early. So I think it's closing on the 24th, is from what I heard. The FWC is going to do a closure right now because of the water quality. But if you're going to get out there and do it because it's lots of them. I'm going to try and go this weekend.
All right, man. Well, give Mama a kiss from me and Brie, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Ozella Key Marina hotspots from the Northwest region. My man Jeff says, inshore, the snook along the beaches and the passage use pinfish and grunts and drift on the outgoing tide. And then offshore, mangrove snappers or any high relief structure, 40 to 75 feet of water. Small pinfish and cut sardines are working the best.
Why can't he go next weekend? He doesn't like us anymore, Rick. He used to come all the time on our scalloping trips to Ozella Keys Marina.
He don't plan. He's not a planner.
Oh, man. Well, maybe he'll.
You know, he runs the big boat for
Maybe
Coco. So guess what? He's on call.
He's on
like
call.
a doctor.
He's on call.
He's a big boat doctor.
He's got important things to do.
Yes.
All right, speaking of important, when you're on the road, make sure you show your support for Florida's fisheries where they conserve Florida's fisheries license plates. From funds from the sale of the redfish tag directly support protecting and enhancing marine resources, habitat restoration, water quality, and coastal environmental education. Remember, your $25 redfish tag helps ensure our marine resources will be here for future generations. Make sure you get yours now at your local DMV or redfishtag.com and match Rick and I.
That's right.
Absolutely. All right, grab your bait or lure spreads and get ready to troll because we are headed into the Takeuchi Keys region for your final Marlin report when we come back with Ridge Murphy.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Island Lures. Tournament Tackle. The IGFA. Every fish, every water, every angler since 1939. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. 30 years of fishing for adventure. Berkeley Prospect Chrome. Real Legends. Available at bellsflorida.com. And Taco Marine. Master the catch.
Today's Power Pole tip is about the Power Pole blade, guys. We're talking about the #1 selling shallow water anchor in the world, and the reason why I like it so much as a fishing guide, or maybe if you're an elite tournament angler, this is a pole that you should look at because it comes in an 8 and a 10-foot option. So when it comes to anchoring in deep water, we have the ability to touch the bottom. And speaking about touching the bottom, the blade has the strongest anchor hold, as well as it is the fastest when it comes to deploying and getting down to the bottom. Now, when the blade is up, it's 20% more aerodynamic because of how thin it is and with the holes being drilled in it. So keep in mind, guys, that it comes in a red, white, blue, as well as black color options. If you have any questions about the Power Pole blade, certainly go to powerpole.com, and that's today's Power Pole tip. So you know, Brie, I fish the rivers a lot for Goliath groupers and mangrove snappers and stuff in Everglades National Park.
Yes.
A new trick that I have learned is a lot of times you'll have an overhanging branch that's out in the water. So I'll back up to that, and instead of trying to drop by anchor or using the anchor lock on the Rodan, because I want to fish off the front of the boat and knowing how these fish can pull on us really hard, I'll use the power pole and actually hook it over a branch that's laying out. And now that I'm able to, stop the boat and anchor the boat by hooking the power pole on a branch that's submerged.
Smart.
Isn't that so cool?
You're so cool.
Sometimes.
You know, you'd be cooler
What?
if you had a red one, because that's an option, and I didn't see that. So
Maybe I should get some.
I think you should. All right. Well, I know our Takeuchi Keys Region Captain Ridge Murphy is more than excited for this week's Marlin Mania. So, Ridge, tell us what we need to know.
In close competition to the tarpon, marlin's one of my favorite fish to chase. Here in the Alta Equipment region, there are several fish caught throughout the year. Most of the marlin that are caught here in the Keys are bycatch from blues and whites on the kites in the springtime, or blues on the daytime rod, sword fishing, or blind trolling while mahi fishing during the summertime. Some of the guys will target billfish with a trolling spread down in Key West during the spring and summer months. And if there was ever a time to target marlin, I suggest planning your trips around the full moon, preferably leading up to the moon. Making the decision between trolling a bait spread or a lure spread can be important, but make that decision based off of your angler's capability. Do you have guys that will pay attention to the baits and fish them properly, or do you need to drag 4 lures around with squid chains covering ground at faster speeds? Dragging baits like chin-leaded swimmers or chugger-headed ballyhoos with an 8-0 Eagle Claw circle hook on an 80 to 100-pound leader on 30-wide internationals, trolling 6 to 8 knots will get you a nice presentation and also keep you in the game to catch billfish and some of the mahis like bycatch like mahis. While lure fishing, with your select choice of lures on 30 to 50 wides with 250 to 400-pound leaders, will allow you to drag and snag, so to speak, trolling spreads at speeds anywhere from 8 to 10 knots, and this will eliminate some of the smaller bycatch but keep you in the game to strictly marlin fish. Marlins are pelagic fish, so don't be scared to get out into the deep. They feed on mahis, tunas, squids, flying fish, and more. So look at this and look for these fish as you're trolling around. The life will create life. I have a photo of a big blue marlin caught by Nat Cherry with me out in the southern Bahamas on the diversion captained by John Cooper.
Nice.
Wow.
All right, tell us about the mahis, Bubba.
The mahis are running all over the Keys from 800 to 1,000 feet of water. Look for the scattered weeds and debris. And the birds were on the fish, and they were staying with them pretty good. Over the last few weeks, these fish are starting to get a little bit bigger from the 23 to 26-inch range, and so the majority of the fish that you're catching are keepers. If you start seeing some smaller fish, move on to the next set of birds. There's plenty of fish around to move on to. Have a big fish rod ready for that bigger mahi that might show up. Actually, today, Samuel Milazzo caught a 50-pounder, so there are definitely some bigger fish running around. And if you want to stick with that theme species, you can always take a 50 wide for a boat ride. And that way, if you do see the billfish or a marlin running around with these smaller fish, you can pull a wide range style lure and try and catch one of these mahis. I have another photo of a buddy of mine, Captain Jake Turk, and on his way in, going back to Bud and Mary's, he ran over a bunch of little schoolies on the bay side of Isla Mirada in 6 feet of water, and they caught them. It was pretty cool.
That's cool. Bonefish and mahis on the same flat. I love it. Tell me about the tarpon, Bob. Yep.
The juvenile tarpon fishing around the islands and on the shorelines. You want to pull along the shorelines looking for rolling and waking fish, busting on shrimps on the surface, or waking around the bait balls. Throw a gulp shrimp in pink or white, rigged weedless on a weedless hook, or bass assassin shrimp or little boss, also rigged weedless. These fish are ranging from 5 to 30 pounds, so you can catch them on a Finwick medium to fast 7-foot rod with a 30-pound leader, or you can throw an 8 to 9 weight Hardy fly rod throwing a bait fish pattern fly or gurglers. I have another photo sent in by Tim Mahaffey of a nice little action shot of a little guy that they've been catching lately.
All right, one to go. What do you got, bub?
If we're not chasing bonefish after tarpon fishing, we're getting up on the flats looking for redfish, and right now it's the flip of the coin to decide because both are pretty good. For me, the redfish takes the cake, so looking for them waking up in big schools, up on the crowns, up on the high water, and keep an eye out for the stingrays because the fish will be nearby. Also, keep an eye out for the sharks because they will be corralling the schools of fish like cattle dogs. Throw Finwick Elite 7-foot medium to medium light rods with a Bass Assassin 4-inch sea shad or 5-inch jerkbait, rigged weedless, and take your time pulling along the flats looking for the wakers and the tailors. Be strategic with your cast. Try not to drag the presentation to the fish rather than going away from the fish. You want it going away from the fish. Keep that in mind, and it'll help you catch more fish and get less refusals. The water temps are starting to get a little hotter, so removing the oxygen.
Reggie, we got to go. Sorry, bub, we're out of time. We got to get to your hot spots. All right, we're going to go.
Fish back in the water.
All right, inshore, juvenile tarpons. The first thing in the morning, look for the groups of fish rolling on the edges of the islands and the shorelines. Keep an eye out for the big bust on the shrimp on the surface. And then offshore, the mahis, 800 to 1,000 feet of water. Look for the birds, scattered weeds, and debris. Throw dead ballyhoo or live bait like pilchards or cigar minnows, and don't be scared to move to another group of fish if the fish are small. It's that simple.
It's that simple. All right, now it's time to take a look at tournaments going on in the Florida Keys. Let's do this. First, we have the Reef Environmental Education Foundation's Lionfish Derby, August 15th through the 17th, ending with a final weigh-in of invasive lionfish catches and public festival at Reef headquarters in Key Largo. Next, anglers fish for 7 species, September 20th through the 22nd in the Herman Lucerne Memorial Backcountry Championship, a one-of-a-kind backcountry tournament that takes place only within the boundaries of Everglades National Park. Then is the Key Largo Rotaries Take Stock in Children Backcountry Challenge, which allows fishing day and night from Friday, October 4th to the Sunday, the 6th, followed by the presentation of awards for releases of redfish, snook, and trout in adult and junior divisions. And finally, anglers compete for awards in 3 divisions, artificial fly and bait for the longest bonefish and permit during the 54th annual Islamorada Fall All-Tackle Bonefish and Permit Championship, October 14th through the 16th. For more information on Keys tournaments, go to flakeys.com. But stay with us and we will be right back. Well, we hope you've enjoyed the Marlin mania here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. Next week, we are talking sharks. What? Shark Week here? Oh no, we lost a hand. That's never good. Well, thanks for tuning in. Rick's serving up some Castaway coffee.
I want coffee.
Cheers. But we'll get some
Bye,
later.
guys. We're going to have some Castaway coffees. Bye.